Well, our next guest saying that we need to remember that nothing is free, to tell us why super comparison offers or super review offers mean, in fact, you're the product being sold. Liam Shorte is joining us from SONAS Wealth. Liam, good to see you in person. I think you've heard that wine is on the agenda here.
And I'm into the city for the rugby on the weekend.
Fantastic. All right. So, well, this sounds a little concerning, isn't it? That, you know, we're being sold ourselves as products, aren't we, in super?
Yeah, so people are finally, they get into their 40s, they think, I better do a review of my super. I've got 20 years contributions. It's time to do something. And I don't know whether they say it or they search, but suddenly there's Facebook ads going, super comparison, rate your super, we can do a free review for you. And these used to be run by advisors who would do it to bring people in. Now they're just pure marketing companies. So, but what they're doing is a very hard sell on getting you to move. So they're like trying to pre-sell you on, it's time for you to move. You look in the small print of any of their websites and it's, we do not give advice, we're not responsible for any advice, and we'll be paid a fixed or percentage fee by the advisor for placing you. So we had a couple recently where, not a huge amount in super, about 175 each, but they ended up paying 5,500 each, so the company split it between two separate SOAs, and then did a third SOA and charged them on insurance. So by the time they were finished, for a couple but not too much, it was $18,000 of upfront fees.
Goodness.
So that's what I'm saying. If it sounds like it's free to you, or they say, oh, it'll come from your super, you don't have to worry about it, you're paying for it. You are the product. You've just been sold to somebody.
How is this happening? I mean, it's the same every time on my Instagram. The ads are all about super. Buy a house with your super. How is this sort of being allowed to filter through?
It's because you're in the industry, you're in the financial industry. The algorithms are looking at you and going, this is what you'd be interested in hearing about. So if somebody Googles, how's my super doing, or check their industry super fund, you will see over the next week probably 7 or 8 ads saying, you should review your super. And
But I guess also from the other side of those selling you the products, they see the dollar signs in their eyes, don't they? Because we are talking huge amounts of money that's locked away at the moment.
And look, what we're also seeing is that it's the unscrupulous product providers as well. So they start with that lead generation company, then they have their financial planning section, and that financial planning section is funneling everything into their own internal funds. So the big one that collapsed recently is the UGC and their Global Property Fund. My wife's friend lost over 404,000 in that.
Oh my goodness.
All her money was put into one single fund that has collapsed.
So when we look at regulation, I guess what's ASIC doing about this, but also you're saying that they sort of lack the ability to oversee some of these funds too.
Most people don't know what ASIC is, but what they do think of ASIC is that, it's a government regulator that regulates in the financial services industry. But ASIC themselves have come out, the German came out and said, regardless of whether it's alpacas or meme coins, if they produce a trust deed and a product disclosure statement, then we have to issue it. So they're not a gatekeeper. They're just basically saying, if you want to get into the library, this is what you have to have a library card to do it. And then they're saying, and then we get caught in at the later part of it, where we pick up the pieces. Well, that's too late when everything's gone wrong. People have assumed that because a PDS has been issued, even though it'll say on the PDS in small writing that this doesn't mean it's a good investment or it approves the investment. It just means that they've ticked the boxes to issue it, but nobody's actually checked it. And then what's happening? These fund managers are buying a good rating from a research house or producing marketing material that makes it all sound like it's beautiful and easy. And then suddenly you find that, no, what you thought you were going into a fixed interest fund, it's a property development fund, and materials and labour has gone up and the fund has failed.
It does go to the point of how you actually choose a super fund though, isn't it? Particularly as we're encouraged to consolidate our super into one fund. And I mean, you just use that example of someone who lost their life savings in one fund. What are the checks and balances? What's the due diligence you need to do?
Well, for you personally, you look at your own fund and see how it's performed over not just 1 year, 5, 7 and 10 years. Now, in a lot of cases, they're in industry funds that have done very well over the last decade. But the marketers are saying, we can get you double that. We can get you, in her case, she was told that instead of having 450,000 now, she will have 960,000 in 6 years and be able to fully pay off her mortgage before retiring. There's no, if you don't have the financial literacy around what the average returns are, you don't understand that 8 or 9% per year was excellent. And there was no reason for you to move to take that extra risk.
If you don't really understand a lot about it and you don't have your own advisor, is it not better to just stick with the big funds, the big well-known funds?
Or get some advice from them. Just
Yeah.
as a double check, go to that fund and they offer advice, limited advice, and just say to them, can you just confirm to me that I'm on the right track? And pay for it. Get that advice to make sure, especially before you leave, because we've seen people, they're moved and they lose their insurances as well. And then it's a double whammy. They lose their savings and they lose insurance if they get ill. So, first stop, really do your research on your existing fund. And I would even say a simple one now, put your fund name into ChatGPT and ask it, is this a good fund?
And
what's
we do
its
that
track
now
record?
while you and Andrew talk. I'm going to do
you can
it.
try
I'm
and
going
do
to
it.
find out.
And Liam, you talk of the big funds. The big funds are getting bigger.
Yes.
So you've got Aware and Telstra emerging.
Yeah, so like one big corporate employer and one of the largest industry funds combining, now going to be about $228 billion in size. So just behind Australian Super at over 350, and then I've just got out of my mind what the second one was, but basically they're now huge conglomerates.
Yeah, you got Australian Super and Australian Retirement Trust.
Trust, yeah.
Is bigger better?
It's not necessarily better, but what we have seen, for example, with Aware is that they've realised that because of their size, they can't service all their clients themselves. So they've opened up an excellent advisor portal. So with a lot of these industry funds, they've been told they have to get ready for retirement, for pushing people into retirement. But they were all set up for accumulators. So now they realise they've got to be able to give the advice to people approaching retirement, and they realise they need to work with advisors on it. So I can tell you that Aware Super's portal now is probably one of the best portals I've seen out there, because it not only allows the advisor to set things up, but it makes sure that the actual client themselves approves it. So it's the best of both worlds. So I'm loving the fact that they're embracing the fact that as a team we can work together to take care of clients into the future. And I'm an SMSF specialist, but I know that that's only suitable for about 3 out of 10 people. I want to have those other solutions for the rest of the public.
So those of us in the other 7, I'm not going to tell you who I'm with, but ChatGPT says yes, based on the latest industry data and expert ratings, blah blah, widely regarded as a strong performing value for money super fund in Australia, won Super Fund of the Year at the 2025 Super Fund Awards.
There you go.
All right, I don't need to pay for advice, did I? I just needed to ask Liam and ChatGPT.
You're taking AI advice now.
Well, it's like one of those first stops, and from there then you can do a bit more research. And as I said, don't be afraid to phone up and get a bit of advice from the industry fund itself.
Yeah, all right. Actually, we wanted to ask you one more question, I think, as well, and this is more about average residential properties and why that's important to small business owners.
Yeah, so a lot of small business owners, especially in the outer suburbs or in country areas, they've actually got their business in the suburb, and it might be in a residential house that they've changed into their veterinary clinic or their chiropractic clinic or an accountant, and they've been told, they read that you can't move a residential property into your super fund. But it goes back to what is a business real property for SMSF. A business real property is a property that's used 100% for business regardless of the zoning. So we had one where a father was retiring, he wanted to pass the business on to his daughter. She just couldn't really afford to buy the property as well. So we've set it up so the father's moved the property into his SMSF. He'll lease it back to the daughter's business, so she's got certainty as a tenant, and he's got a lovely steady income coming in retirement. They thought they couldn't do that because it was a residential property, but it's 100% used for the business, so they could. And he got the CGT exemptions for putting it in as a small business.